Okay, thank you so much for that, John. That was really, really fascinating. So we've now some time for a short panel discussion. We've one or two questions from that have been given through the talk, and we can cover those. But if anybody has any last minute questions, especially about John's talk there, then please do type them into the chat, and we'll try our very best to cover them. Uh, any that we don't have time to answer now, there is a get in touch button at the bottom of the screen. If you'd like to post your questions there, then our communications team will respond to those after the event. So, John, if we can start with you, please. So this is my own question, I guess, but from a researcher perspective, what does make UK Biobank so special?
Well, I'd say it's two things. It's firstly the sheer scale. I mean, having information on scans in a cohort like this number, as you said, is like at least tenfold greater than anything that's been achieved. And having such large numbers can be really important, particularly for kind of genetic studies where this is a situation where the bigger the number, it does really make a big difference in terms of your confidence in identifying genetic signals. So that large number is really, really critical. The other thing I'd say is just the sheer sheer amount of information available. So obviously there's the DEXA scans themselves, which are obtained in this using this high quality DEXA scanner image, which gives like almost X-ray quality. So there's but as well as that, we can link the information obtained to other data obtained both as part of UK Biobank itself. So you've heard that during the clinic assessment, lots of information that's obtained about people, lots of questions asked, lots of other image data, lots of other factors that might be playing in genetic as well as genetic data. There's also a lot of information obtained from the blood samples. There's what's called proteomic data, measuring thousands of sort of different proteins. So lots and lots of detailed information obtained as part of the study, but also through record linkage, where you can link back to participants' health records. There's also lots of valuable information. So when I was describe the relationships between shape and whether or not people subsequently have joint replacement, that's obtained with health linkage data going back over a number of years. And in fact, we can also look at this prospectively. So in terms of the baseline images were done quite a number of years ago, but we can relate that to if somebody has had a subsequent joint replacement, say through record linkage. So yeah, both the scale and I think the richness of the data.
Excellent. That's a great answer. Thank you, John. So kind of related, and I might pass this one to Sean. So somebody said, I've had a hip replacement. Is it worth me taking part?
Yes, it is. If it's a single hip replacement that you've had, so that is a hip replacement on one side of your body, and that same hip could be replaced several times, and as long as it's on the one side of your body, you would still be eligible to take part. Unfortunately, at present, we're not able to scan participants who've had hips replaced on both sides of their body. We haven't quite managed to crack that in terms of getting you scanned at Bristol. We may be able to in the future, but the current guidelines are that we're not able to scan double hip replacements. So if you've had the hip replaced on one side, you may very well be eligible as long as you meet the rest of the criteria. If it's on both sides, unfortunately at present, we're not able to scan you at Bristol.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks. Tonya, so we've got a participant who says, I struggle to travel by myself. Am I okay to bring a friend?
It is a long visit, so the visit takes about 4 to 5 hours. So it is a long time for your friend to wait for you. We're very close to Cribbs Causeway, so if they have ability to sort of travel just 10 minutes down the road by car, and they can get there and have a shopping stint while you're busy in the imaging centre, then that would be ideal. We've got a very, very small waiting area here that people can wait in. And we will provide teas and coffees if somebody is sort of unable to sort of get out at all, but it's not ideal in the fact that it's very limited. We've got very limited seating, and as I say, it's a long time. But we are looking at ways of sort of helping people that live relatively close, maybe offering taxis to some people. But again, Sean's team will make that assessment on the day when you're doing your sort of pre-screening. So some people we can actually offer a taxi service in and out again afterwards. But as I say, that would be Sean's team that would make that decision at assessment.
Thanks. Thank you. So we've been asked, do I get any results at the end of my visit? Can I see my images? Nicola, would you like to take that?
Sure, happy to, Steve. So as you'll probably recall from when you first agreed to take part in Biobank, the consent you gave was that you wouldn't receive any feedback, and so we only provide limited measurements as a consequence of your visit. So you will receive a few measurements from the assessment on the day, but not actually any detail of your scan results. As I mentioned when I was talking to you before, we are collecting the data for research purposes, and so we're not actually looking for to diagnose disease in any way. It is purely the fact that there is a potential that we could spot something unusual as a consequence of this process that we're following, that there is this other process of reporting of potentially serious incidental findings. So to answer the question, no, it will be the same few summary measurements that you were provided after your first baseline assessment, which was probably your height, your weight, your blood pressure, those sort of routine measurements, not the scan results, unfortunately. I would add, though, if we do spot something that does need further investigation, we can share your scans with hospitals if your GP decides that there is further investigation warranted, then and you were referred to a hospital for that, we can certainly share the scans directly with the hospital team so that they can review. But our recommendation would be that you undergo further scans, because as I keep saying, these are not clinical scans, these are research purpose scans. Thanks, Steve.
Okay, thank you. Sean, I think I might come back to you. So a participant said, do I need to come to Bristol? Can I attend one of the other sites?
Yes, you can attend one of the other sites, but just to make you aware that because these sites are very costly to set up, and in terms of the funding that's required, we were only able to set up 4 imaging centres around the country, which is far less than we were able to set up in terms of when you came for that original assessment. I think we went to sort of 19, 20 places around the country at that time, but we were only able to set up 4 imaging centres. So in terms of the south of the country, we've got Bristol and Reading, and then up further north, we've got Stockport, and further north still, we've got Newcastle. So if you do live in a sort of zone that's a bit equidistant in terms of Bristol and Reading, then you may want to attend Reading. And we do have some participants probably more towards the Midlands area who can sometimes say they prefer, or it's easier for them to attend the centre in Stockport. So yeah, there are limitations there in terms of the amount of centres we've been able to set up. So we have worked it out to invite you to a centre that we think is closest to you. But if you do want to attend one of the other centres, then we can arrange for that. When you do call us, we can change the invite on the call to book you in at another centre.
Sure, and I think this is possibly related, but Nicola, you did touch on this, but can I claim overnight stay expenses as part of my visit?
So it's a great question, because as I referenced, some people might need to travel some distance, because as we've talked about, there are just 4 centres across the UK. we'd really encourage you to have a conversation with the contact centre team that Sean heads up around your circumstances. You know, we are a publicly funded charity, so we you know, our resources are limited, but we do actually want to make sure as many people who are able and willing want to take part in this study are able to do so. And so you know, if there are special circumstances that you have that we need to understand, then we would certainly have that conversation with you. Routinely, we're not able to offer overnight hotel accommodation, but if you're traveling a great distance, and my geography of Bristol, and I'm in Manchester, so that might be quite a big distance, you know, please have that conversation with us. You know, we are incredibly grateful for the support you've given to us over the length of the study so far, and we want to make it as possible as we can for people, and that's really the purpose of being here today.
Absolutely. Thank you. So we've had a question about whether any of the studies have been used in today's medicine. I'll take that one. I'm not aware of anything that is directly available now as a result of our study. That said, there are quite a few new potential diagnoses and potential techniques that are being developed as a result of our data. There was a paper published in January looking at a potential blood test that could be used to assess the risk of dementia in later life, and that's using our new proteomics data that John mentioned before. So we are still very, very early in this study. I think a lot of the great discoveries are yet to come, but the more data that we have, both in terms of number of participants, but also in that depth of data, having all of the genomics and the proteomics and the images and the lifestyle data and the linkages that John spoke about will really help drive those discoveries. So I think we are pretty much out of time today. As I mentioned earlier, if there are any other questions that you might have that we've not had time to discuss today, then please do get in touch. There is a button on your screen that says get in touch. If you'd like to make an appointment today, then you can go on our website and request a call back. You should receive a link to ask us to do that. I think it's also being posted in the chat. But regardless, somebody from Sean's team will call in order to try and make that appointment. And I really hope that today has persuaded you that it's worthwhile to take part. So thank you again, and thanks to all of our speakers, and especially to Professor Tobias for taking the time today. Thank you.